In this video, I will show you how to choose which reason proves that the triangles are congruent. We will deal with shared sides, the reflexive property, and vertical angles. But before we get started, please understand what these letters stand for. SSS means side, side, side. SAS means side, angle, side, and this one means angle, side, angle. All three of these are ways that you can prove that two triangles are congruent, and I'll show you what that means in a second. But first, we have to mention the two that do not work. You cannot do side, side, angle. And I'm very glad that this one doesn't work, because if we wrote it the other way around, it would make a bad word, and that would be bad for a school environment. So luckily, side, side, angle does not work. So if you see a side, side, angle situation, you will circle can't be proven. The other one that does not work is angle, angle, angle. All right, having three congruent angles or three pairs of congruent angles does not prove that triangles are congruent. So if you see three angles, that will mean that the triangles cannot be proven congruent. Now, throughout the rest of this lesson, look for shared sides. If you have a shared side, you know that the side will be congruent for both triangles because it is actually the same side being used twice. So you can mark it just like I did right then. Now, that will count as we're looking for sides and angles to prove the triangles are congruent. So in this case, if I look at just one triangle at a time, so just stare at this triangle that I circled, notice that I have all three sides marked. That is side, side, side. So that will be the reason that proves that the two triangles are congruent. The other thing I want you to watch out for is vertical angles. Whenever you have an X like this, you have two pairs of vertical angles. So these two angles right here are going to be congruent. They are vertical angles. Or I could do these two angles right here. These are also vertical angles, and vertical angles are always congruent. But that shows up with these triangles very often. These are vertical angles right here. So they are congruent, we can mark them. Now, if I just look at one triangle at a time, like look at this triangle, for example, notice that I have two sides and an angle. Okay, so two sides and an angle. So that is either going to be side, angle, side, because that would be two sides and an angle, or it might be that it can't be proven congruent because it might be side, side, angle, and that's a no. So watch out for side, side, angle. Okay, now the way I know the difference between side, angle, side, and side, side, angle is in this case, see how the A is between the two S's? That means that the angle has to be between the two sides. And that's actually exactly what I have here. Let me show you what I mean. Here's one side that I have marked congruent. Here's another side that I have marked congruent. Look where they meet. Do you see that they meet right here at the angle? Hold on, I meant for that to be red. Do you see that they meet right here at the angle? So that means that the angle is between the two sides, and that's why it is side, angle, side. Okay, looking at problem number 3, we have a shared side right here. All right, one day we will learn that this is the reflexive property that we are using. So we can mark that. Now, if I look at just one triangle at a time, so just look at, for example, this triangle right here, you'll see that I have two sides and an angle. All right, that's similar to the last time. So whenever I have two sides at an angle, it might be this one, or it's possible that it could be this one if it turns out to be side-side angle. So once again, I just need to check and see if the angle is between the two sides. The key word is between. So let's check. If I want to see if the angle is between, I should highlight the sides. So here's a side right here. Here's the other side right here. Okay, look where they meet. Look where they touch. They touch right here. And that is the angle that is marked. It is between, so this is side angle side. For problem number 4, no sides are marked. It's all angles. That's angle, angle, angle. That is no good. So can't be proven. Number 5, we have a shared side right here. Kabam. Now, if I look at just one triangle at a time, for example, look at this triangle, I see that I have two angles and a side. All right, two angles and a side. So of the choices that they've given us, this is the only one that could be two angles and a side. Now, there is another possibility that's not, I mean, they promised us it would be one of these 3 or it can't be proven. So I already know this is the answer, but notice that the side is between the two angles. And look at the triangle. Perhaps you can see that this side is between the two angles. So it does make sense. All right, jump over to problem number 6. Can you see the vertical angles that I must mark? All right, so these are vertical angles right here. If I just focus on one triangle at a time, like this triangle, for example, I'm noticing that I have two angles and a side. Two angles and a side. So that means that, well, this is the only one that has two angles and a side. So once again, I know that this is going to be the answer. But again, notice that the side has to be between the angles, and this side, see the double mark? It is between the two angles that we have marked. So it does make sense. All right. In this set, the answer will be either angle, angle, side, angle, or can't be proven. So they're being very nice to us and narrowing down the choices. I guess so we can focus on playing around with vertical angles and shared sides. So here we have a shared side. Kabam. Let's go ahead and mark that guy. Now let's focus on one triangle at a time. So let's focus on this triangle up here, for example. Notice that I have two angles and a side. Two angles and a side. Okay, all right. So this is a little bit more challenging because both of these options involve two angles and a side. So they are really going to make us think about this. Notice that the second one, the side, the S is between the two A's. That means that the side is between the two angles. So if the side is between, I'm going to pick this one. I'll pick the other one if the side is not between. Okay, so what do I mean by between? Look at the two angles. So I'm going to put dots at the two angles. So here's one angle, all right, and here is the other angle. If I connect those, that is the side that is between the two angles. Now, notice that the side that is marked is not between the two angles. So that's why I'm going to pick this one. I have two angles and a side, but the side is not between. All right, boom. Problem number 8. Okay, again, we'll pick the second one if the side is between the two angles. We'll pick the first one if the side is not between. But first, we got to do vertical angles. So, kabam, these two angles will be congruent. Now, let's focus on one triangle at a time. So let's look at this triangle, for example. Here's an angle right here. Here's the other angle that is marked. If I connect those two dots, that reveals the side that is between the two angles. But the side that is marked is different. It is not between. So that will be angle, angle, side. Okay, brilliant. Number 9. We have a shared side. Boom. Let's focus on one triangle at a time. Let's focus on this triangle over here. I see that we have an angle, and we have an angle, and we have a side. If I connect these dots, that reveals which side is between those angles. And that is the side that is marked. Okay, so when the side is between the two angles, that's going to be this one. All right, we choose this one for between. All right, the S is between the two A's. Okay, let me mark this ahead of time this time. So if the side is between, I'm going to pick this one. I will pick the first one if the side is not between the two angles. Well, we have a shared side. Do you see it? Kabam. Here's the shared side right here. Let us focus on one triangle at a time. All right, let's put a dot on one angle that is marked. Here's the other angle that is marked. If I connect those two dots, I am tracing the side that is between the two angles. But the marked side is something else. It is not between. So that's why I know this will be angle, angle, side. All right, number 11. Number 11, once again, this is the one where the side is between. And this is the one where the side is not between. Here's the shared side, boom. Focus on one triangle at a time. Focus on this triangle. All right, so we have two sides and an angle. All right, we have two sides and an angle. None of the choices have two sides and an angle. So right away, that tells me that it's going to be can't be proven. All right, because those are my only 3 choices. Okay, moving on to number 12. Let's mark the vertical angles. So we have vertical angles here. I'm going to use a double swoop because the single is already taken. All right, this is a really small, little tiny triangle here. Let's focus on one triangle at a time. We have 2 angles and a side. All right, so we are in business. So it should be one of these. I'm going to pick the second one if the side is between the 2 angles. And I'll pick the first one if the side is not between. Well, here's an angle right here, and the other angle is right here. If I connect them, that shows which side is between. And that is the side that is marked. So the side is between, so that means angle, side angle is the answer. Okay, in this set, the answer will either be angle, angle, side, side angle, side, hypotenuse leg, or can't be proven. So they're opening it up to the full set. 1, 2, 3, 4. I feel like there's one that's, oh, side is the only one that's missing. Okay, so let me reiterate. All right, because we have side angle side now, we have to worry about the evil version that has two sides and an angle. So please remember that the following two do not work. So if I see side side angle or angle angle angle, these two prove nothing. These two do not work. So let me just get that back into your brain once again. All right, especially side side angle, because that's two sides and an angle, and this is two sides and an angle, so we can get those confused. But if I see this one, I will pick can't be proven. First, we have the shared side. So we have a shared side right here. Now, let's focus on one angle at a time, one triangle at a time. So focus on this triangle right now. I have two sides and an angle. Okay? You know what? We haven't really talked about hypotenuse leg in a while. Hypotenuse leg, HL stands for hypotenuse leg. Okay? Now, I was just saying how bad side-side angle is. And that's true unless it is a right triangle. So really, this is a side-side angle situation. I have two sides and an angle, and the angle is not between the sides. But this happens to be a right triangle. So because this is a right triangle, then this is the hypotenuse right here. Okay, this mark represents the hypotenuse. And any other side is called a leg. So we have a hypotenuse and a leg. So this will actually be hypotenuse leg. Okay, so wow. So when we have two sides and an angle, we really have to watch out for side angle side, or it could be side side angle, which is none, or it could be hypotenuse leg. So that's the trickiest one of all. Okay, let's move on to number 14. First of all, the shared side. We have a shared side right here. Let's mark it. Let's pick one triangle on which to focus. I choose this one. Now, notice that I have two sides and an angle. Two sides and an angle. So these are the possibilities. It could be side angle side. That has two sides and an angle. It could be hypotenuse leg, because that's two sides and an angle, and it is a right triangle, so that makes it possible. Or it might be none. Maybe it can't be proven if it turns out to be side-side angle. Okay, so how will I tell these apart? Well, if the angle is between the two sides, then that's when it's going to be this one. All right, if I have the angle between, that's when it's going to be this one. Okay, if it's not between, then it's going to be this one if it's a right triangle, and it'll be this one if it's not a right triangle. Okay, this is a right triangle, so it's either going to be side angle side if it's between, or hypotenuse leg if it's not between. We don't have to worry about can't be proven. Okay, so it's down to the final choice. Is the angle between or not between? The best thing to do is to highlight the two sides that you have. So here's one side that is marked. Okay, let me just remark it. Here's the other side that is marked. Okay, look at where they meet. They meet right here at the angle. So the angle is between, so that means we are side angle side. Okay, look at number 15. Mark the shared side. Boom, shared side right there. Now focus on only one triangle at a time. Let's focus on this triangle. So what I have is I have two angles and a side. Okay, two angles and a side. So here's two angles and a side, and here's two angles and a side. Yeah, so it's going to be one of these. So which one is it going to be? Well, it'll be the second one if the side is between the two angles. It'll be the first one if the side is not between. Well, I have one angle here, I have one angle here. This is the side that is between them. But that is not the side that is marked. So since the side is not between the angles, then it will be angle, angle, side. Okay. On the next one, here is the shared side. Let's mark it. Now let's focus on one triangle at a time. For example, let's focus on this triangle right here. I see that we have two sides and an angle. Okay, this is the tricky one. We have two sides and an angle. So it could be side angle side because that has two sides and an angle. It could be hypotenuse-leg because that has two sides and an angle as well. Or it's possible that it can't be proven because one of the things that does not work is side-side angle, which is two sides and an angle. So when it's two sides and an angle, there are three different possibilities. So how can I tell which one is the correct one? Well, this first one, the angle is between the two sides. So this is the one where it is between. All right, now the other two, it's going to be one of the other two if the angle is not between. So if it comes down to that, it depends on whether it's a right triangle or not. This is a right triangle, so I don't have to worry about this one. So if it's between, it'll be side angle side. If the angle is not between, it'll be hypotenuse-leg. Well, where are these two sides? So here's one side that I have marked. And here is the other side. Okay, I cannot trace. Let me try one more time. All right, here is the other side that I have marked. Still not doing a great job. All right, those are the two sides I have marked. Look where they meet. Can you see that they meet right here at the angle that we have marked? So this angle is between the two sides, so that means this is side angle side. Okay, number 17. Let's start by marking the vertical angles. We have vertical angles here, so that means we have this angle right here. Now, focus on one triangle at a time. So, for example, focus on this triangle. What do we have? We have two angles and a side. Two angles and a side. So that could be this or this. So it's all going to depend on whether or not the side is between the two angles. If it's between, it'll be this one. If the side is not between, it'll be angle, angle, side. Well, here's one angle, and here's the other angle. If I connect the dots, that is the side that is between the two angles. And guess what? That is the side that we have marked. The side is between the two angles, so that means this is angle, side, angle. All right, jumping over to number 18. These triangles are not touching, so there's no shared side there's no vertical angles. So just look at one triangle at a time. Notice that we have two sides and an angle. Two sides and an angle. This is the tricky one that we have to watch out for. There are three possibilities. It could be side angle side, because that has two sides and an angle. It could be hypotenuse-leg, because that's two sides and an angle. Or it can be, maybe it can't be proven, because maybe it's this one. Maybe it's side-side angle, two sides and an angle. So there's three possibilities. The way we can tell which one it is, it'll be the first one, side angle side, if the angle is between the two sides. All right, it'll be one of these if the angle is not between the two sides. And so if it comes down to this, it's a matter of whether or not it's a right triangle. If the triangle has a hypotenuse, it'll be the first one. Now this is a right triangle, so we don't have to worry about can't be proven. All right, if it's between, it'll be side angle side. If the angle is not between, it'll be hypotenuse-leg. Okay, so where are the two sides? So here's a side that we have marked, and here's a side that we have marked. Okay, notice where they meet. They meet right here. This is the angle that is between them, but that is not the angle that we have marked. Okay, so that means that this is not, the angle is not between, so it is not side angle side. So if we look at it again, we see that it is hypotenuse-leg, because this side is the hypotenuse, and any other side is called a leg. So we have a hypotenuse and a leg, so this is actually hypotenuse-leg. Okay, in this set, the answer could be any of the postulates or theorems that we've discussed. Could be any of these. All right, one more time, please remember that side-side angle and angle, 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 these do not work. These are the two combinations that do not prove anything. All right, you cannot prove triangles are congruent with this information. So if either of these show up, we will say can't be proven. All right, we have a shared side right here, so let's mark that. Now let's focus our eyeballs on one triangle at a time. For example, this one. Now, what do we have? Let's see, we have two sides and an angle. Okay, so whenever you have two sides and an angle, there are three possibilities. It is either going to be side angle side, hypotenuse-leg, or can't be proven if it turns out to be this one. All right, now I'm noticing that this is a right triangle. So let's see if it's hypotenuse-leg before we go any further. Well, this guy right here is in fact the hypotenuse. All right, it is right across from the 90-degree angle. That makes it the hypotenuse. And any other side is called a leg. So this is hypotenuse and leg. So it is hypotenuse-leg. So we really don't have to think about it any harder than that. Let's jump over to number 20. I notice that we have a shared side right here. So let's go ahead and mark that. Now let's focus on one triangle at a time. Just makes it easier to see what's going on. So let's focus on this triangle, for example. Now, what type of information do we have? We have two angles and a side. So that narrows it down. Two angles and a side. Nope, nope. So it's either going to be this one or this one. Those are the only two that have two angles and a side. So how will I choose? It'll be the first one if the side is between the two angles. So this is the one for between. It'll be angle, angle, side if the side is not between. Okay, well, here's an angle right here. Here's the other angle right here. If I connect the dots, that shows the side that is between. But the side we have marked is not between. So that means that this is angle, angle, side. All right. Problem number 21. Let's go ahead and mark the shared side. Okay, now let's focus our eyes on one triangle at a time. For example, this one. What type of information do we have? Well, looks like we have all three sides. Well, there's only one possibility then. That is side, side, side. That's the only one that has all three sides. And last one, number 22. We have a shared side. Let's mark it. Boom. Focus on one triangle at a time. Focus on this triangle right here, for example. What type of information do we have? We have two sides and an angle. So that narrows it down, right? Two sides and an angle. Okay? Now, this is the tricky one, guys. So, two sides and an angle. It could be side, angle, side, or it could be hypotenuse-leg, or it might be can't be proven. All right, all three of these involve two sides and an angle. Is this a right triangle? Well, don't assume, guys. It's tempting to assume that it is because it kind of looks like a right triangle, but there's no box to show that this is a right triangle. So it cannot be hypotenuse-leg. It's not even a right triangle. So we can forget about that. How do we tell between the remaining two? Well, it'll be the first one if the angle is between. If the angle is between the two sides, it's side, angle, side. If the angle is not between, then it can't be proven because that'll be side, side, angle, which proves nothing. So, is the angle between the two sides? Highlight the sides. All right, here we have a side here that is marked. All right, and we also have a side right here. Where do they meet? Well, notice that they meet right here, and that is the marked angle. So that means that the marked angle is between the two sides. So that means we have a side, angle, side situation.